done in some type of virtual environment.
That's also why we're stressing on the webcams as well. Part of it is participation level that they want us to achieve within the generation group. You know, make sure that you're paying attention, you're there, you're, you know, interacting. The other part is when you actually go to take that exam, if you don't have a webcam, they're just going to say, thank you for your time, goodbye. And it has, you know, so it's, you know, it's not just us trying to be annoying about it. It's something that it will be required for the exam.
Yeah, prior to the test, there's certain testing that you have to do on your equipment, and of course, they're looking for that webcam because that's the only way that they can ensure a certain level of integrity when it comes towards testing, because you're not in a testing center. So you have to check all those boxes, like Kelly saying. It's imperative only because, I mean, in a sense, how can you ensure, like I said, the integrity of the exam if we can't have that access to you at all times while you're testing? But yes, Josh, no paper, no paper.
Quick question: does everybody see my screen? Because my Zoom is glitching out at the moment.
Yes,
Yes.
we can see it.
All right, just a heads up. Are people private messaging me? Unfortunately, my chat is not working, so I do apologize. But I will respond to you promptly when I have the chance. Okay.
A Frillis, you was about to say something?
Yeah. Is it rare to get like a perfect score? Is that like a rare thing?
Believe it or not, it's technically speaking almost not possible. You can get close because there are certain questions that they put that technically speaking they give you the point for, or they don't. It's kind of complicated. They have their own grading system, but I do know some back-end information that it's almost impossible to get that score, because just some of them, they make it impossible to get a score. They kind of like give it to you for free, but not the whole point. I don't know. It's complicated. It's like a mob, in my opinion. But you can get close. That's one thing you can definitely do. That's true. You can get close.
Have any of you three seen anybody come close to like a perfect score on that?
I had a friend that got close, like
Same.
850, like around 850, but that's usually the first. I haven't seen anybody past that, and only 900 is the max amount.
Just, I mean, for the most part, look at it, it's pass fail. Nobody's going to ask you what score you got. Anything above 675 is just bragging rights.
Pretty much.
All right. So I'm glad people are asking questions, because this is why you're here. You're here to get these certifications. It's not in the end of the world if you don't get it this session, these classes, because this is a very difficult exam. Only 30% of people usually pass these exams. So these are very hard. So don't hit yourself too hard if you're struggling with this. It's not easy. That's why we're here to help out the best we can. And remember, like Kelly said, we're cramping a year's worth of stuff in 12 weeks. So we're trying our best, and I see everybody doing the best. So I have high hopes for everybody here. And right here, we got some nice information here. I'm pretty sure you guys already noticed Messer Professor. He's really good. Matter of fact, I can say that he helped me pass my Core 1. And of course, Diego too. There's a lot of good videos, and heck, his course notes are very good that we will be sharing shortly with you all. You may have already had access to that in Canvas if you have located it. It's really good resources. And you can see here, if you guys want, you can always go to his website, which also has some free exams. Usually has little sections. You can get yourself a little test there for free if you ever run out of questions. Because eventually, if you really want to take this exam and pass, you're probably going to be doing over 1,000 questions. You're going to probably run out eventually. So you're going to need more. Messer Professor has some free ones you can use. It's pretty good.
If I were to type on Google free questions like for the exam, would it give me like practice tests?
There's a lot. Yes, correct. There is a lot. Now, please be
Your
careful.
books come. Your books come with the test, guys. Your books come with a test. You register your book online. It is simple as answering a simple question from CompTIA, and it will give you a test bank. It also gives you a plethora of flashcards and information to be able to practice.
And online test banks can be very dodgy because the answers
Right.
may not be correct.
That's why we were about. That's yeah. That's why Digo came in and this killed all that for you, Freelance. Yeah, you can find stuff online, but what can you guarantee that it's correct? We don't want you to put that information in your head. You know, when you have access to the same
What
thing with what you paid for.
Yeah, what's also great about it is if you could prove that the site is incorrect, you have just taught yourself something. So don't be too afraid to use it. Just as they just said, just take it as a grain of salt. If you believe that that answer is completely wrong, and when somebody's asking you something about a processor, and all of a sudden they're talking about a printer as the answer, you best bet that that has not can't be the answer, right? So just take it for a grain of salt. Listen to the question, and feel free, as Lázaro likes to do, come to your TA and one of us to try to compare. If you believe that that is not there, we're gonna give also a plethora of questions for you guys to be able to practice and do our best to hopefully catch the ones that are not right when we're putting these tests together. So we're trying to get as much test banks as we can for you.
That's correct. And here are some examples here you can find, believe it or not. Of course, your textbook and the ones we give would probably be a better option. These are like extras, especially if you exhausted all the questions you have with us, that is. Start looking out for new ones, I guess. All right. And then I know some of you guys had some questions about the performance-based questions, the ones that I was referring to in the beginning when someone had a question about that. And just like I mentioned, they may give you a little prompt like this inside whatever program they have. You put some information, you config, and you just play around. Matter of fact, the Nearpod that we've been doing with a lot of those matchings are actually very similar. You may actually have to match this, match that, and then match this, and then you go into the next question. So it's very similar just to, like that. Some of them may be a little bit more intricate, but a lot of them are just matching though. Most likely we'll get those. And of course, a little tip, if you get those questions in the beginning, which most likely you will, flag, skip, flag, skip, and then do the multiple choice first, and then go back. That's a little trick that I wish I knew. Well, I did know, I didn't listen, but now I do. And it will help you tremendously. Difference was huge. So please take that advice. Very good.
Again,
What was that, Nicole?
I just asked what the tip was again.
Of course. So when you first start the test, they always put the performance-based questions first, and these will waste your time. So click flag, and then you
I think
skip
it's mark.
all of them.
Either which
Mark,
way is like a little box on the upper corner of the screen, little check box that says mark, so that you could be able to for review, mark for review,
Yeah,
and it allows
mark
you
or
to come
flag. Yeah.
back or flag for review, one of the two. I could have sworn it was the word mark, but either which way is a little checkbox on the top of the screen. You want to come back to that. Don't do it. Whatever you do, do not do it.
Also, with that, Diego, say for instance you leave it blank before you hit submit, it's gonna tell you a whole list is gonna come up with stuff that you left blank.
Mm-hmm.
The key is you could know all of these answers, Nicole. You could be very confident in knowing how to do it. It's just time consuming, which takes away from that 90 question, 90-minute whole thought process. So breeze through all the stuff on the back end and just save those for the end where you can spend the time and you know you only have those questions left. That's the bulk of why we're saying move away from it. So
Yeah, as soon as you finish with all the questions, now you come back to it, you'll see that you have more time, more than enough ample time, because the reason why they give you these 90 minutes is because they're expecting you to waste your time on those initial questions. It's the same thing with the ones that you get stuck with. If you have a 50-50 one, we do understand usually it's either 4 or 5 possible answers. Just choose one. Remember, CompTIA does not gig you for a wrong answer. They do not gig you for a wrong answer. And they will gig you for not answering. Because if you don't answer, you got no chance of getting it even right. You understand what I'm trying to say? If you don't answer, there's no way that you could at least have a chance of guessing something right. Therefore, you've just guaranteed that that one is not going to give you any points. So what I usually do is I mark it, take my best best guess that I believe out of the two that are left, and mark it. Why? Because I might want to come back. And a lot of the times, believe it or not, when you're going through all these questions, one of the other questions is going to just pop that into your head and say, yeah, definitely that's the answer to the one that I just saw. Because it's gonna come back, and somehow the way they ask that question, or maybe when or the way they describe the problem itself in that question tells you for sure what I had doubts on that other question, it's got to be that answer. But time is of the essence. 90 questions, 90 minutes. Pace is very, very critical. That's why I always say go for the multiple guess. The multiple guess ones are much faster for you. Usually, the performance base kill time. Just like in Among Us when we're trying to do the electrical engineering part, it's annoying trying to move around and do all those little tasks compared to running around and trying to stay away from the guy who's trying to kill you. Either which way, your best bet is just do all those questions first before you do the performance base.
Agreed. You want to do the meat and potatoes, which is the multiple choice, and then you can go get the dessert. And these are a little examples you can see for simulations. This right here is actually Mike Myers. He has some free stuff and he gives you some really good ones for examples. Then you have some examples here of how to do a Soho router, which we will talk about in the future class of how to manage your router. And then over here is some softwares related to Phoenix, that's BIOS. So there's going to be some questions related to the BIOS that you may get, and I'm going to give you some examples here. Now, we're going to go through this another time since we're a little bit short on time, but we will show in the future really good examples of the simulations. Matter of fact, test out that you guys are doing is the best example I can even mention. What you do in test out will align extremely well with the CompTIA exam. Very good. So make sure you do test out because it will help you tremendously. And over here, we're talking about how we will be testing you all. We'll be testing you with a score more than 80% following a Kaplan IT training, exam simulations, and the side decks, which is the complete CompTIA book that you guys have been reading, and then some VCE files. So later on, we'll be giving you guys messages and classes that are dedicated to these testings that we will be providing to you all. So please take them very seriously. And we're here to make sure that you can get those vouchers and pass, of course.
All right, real quick, there was a question about, is each question weighted the same? The answer is no. Performance-based questions are weighted the heaviest. Sometimes it may be worth, several questions. The other thing is some multiple choice questions are weighed heavier than others as well. Some are worth 0 points. There are no points at all. It's just a test question that they'll throw in there to kind of test the waters.
Yeah. So definitely, those are the ones that I told you that I usually skip because you're like, what the heck? I don't even remember us covering that, man. What are you talking about? That's the one you're gonna say. You're gonna remember us, and you're just gonna mark it and choose whatever you believe it is. That's another reason why we can't waste our time because they're gonna throw you curveballs there that you're gonna start thinking like, did he skip that? It's like I don't remember ever talking about this. So just don't get afraid of skipping some of them because, like we just said, they're gonna throw those weird ones in there that have no points at all. They even tell you when you're reading it. If you read real careful, the first 15 minutes of all the BS that they're giving you, part of the stuff that they're gonna tell you is that You have 90, about the most is maximum is 90 questions, 90 minutes. Some of them are just for future tests so they could see how people are testing out on the subject itself.
Hey, Laz, you can actually stop on this slide because the slides behind it has some stuff about like testing centers and stuff that we is not, since DL needs to take over anyway. This is a good place to stop. The Nearpod set, this particular slide is inside of your today's work, so you can revisit it. But the everything that we wanted to talk about actually ends right here on this slide.
All right. I'll give the controls to you.